Well, hello friends. Welcome to the first video of 2025. This is going to be a great year. I can feel it in my bones. I can tell. I don't know why this happens to me, but almost every single year I get sort of a sense of how the year is going to go before the year actually happens, and I'm almost always right. It's not like I'm predicting the future really, but I can almost always tell when things are building in a positive direction or building in a negative direction. I don't know why, but so far I've been pretty accurate. Now you might say, Seth, hold on. Isn't it just a self-fulfilling prophecy? How you feel about the year, doesn't it just, automatically make it happen? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe there's some truth to that. But I went into 2024 sort of unsettled because of the sheer number of changes that were happening. And it turned out to be a really tumultuous year for a lot of reasons that I couldn't predict, for a lot of reasons that I had no control over. And all of that sort of contributed to what was admittedly a hard year. Not a bad year, but a hard year. And now it's over. 2024 is over. It's gone. We're in 2025. And that's weird to say because last year went by so fast. Just like a flash, it was gone. And I have a feeling this year is going to go just as quick. But I also think it's going to be a little bit smoother for me. And part of the reason it's going to be smoother for me is because I'm determined to make it smoother. I'm determined to fix some of the things that really held me back last year and to address some of the issues that are within my control regarding how my year went. So, without beating around the brush, this is my 2025 goals. I like to do these videos at the beginning of every year to just give myself sort of a benchmark so that I can then go back and see how well did I do with my goals. So I have two sets of goals that I want to work on. Writing goals, and I want to work on life goals. And our lifestyle goals might be better. And these are sort of a portion of my goals. I also have goals for, my family life, my spiritual life, all of those kinds of things. But these ones I think are most important for my journey as an author. If you're really super curious, you can ask me in the comments and maybe I'll share my other ones too. But let's start talking about writing goals, because this is where I think every author should start at the beginning of the year with what do you want to accomplish? So what I want to accomplish is very simple. Last year I set a goal of writing 20,000 words a day, as many days as I possibly could. And I just failed in that, like unequivocally, I failed in that goal. Because I found out that 20,000 words a day was something that I could keep up for a month or 2 months, maybe 3 months even, and then it just burnt me out completely. And then when that happened, I would end up not writing for longer periods of time, or I'd have really, really low days where I was writing maybe 2,500 to 5,000 words a day instead of the 20,000 that I was hoping for. Really just unsustainable. So over December, instead of continuing to try and just blindly push forward for these 20,000 word days, I started making some adjustments. I started testing some things out, and I've settled on a new goal, which is 15,000 words a day. Now you might think to yourself, Seth, the difference between 15,000 words and 20,000 words, not actually that big. And you'd be correct. In the grand scheme of things, while 20,000 words clearly gets you 5,000 more words every day, over a long period of time, that is a lot of words. In the grand scheme of things, it's really not that significant. So, with that in mind, I have adjusted my schedule and I've adjusted my expectations, and I've sort of started working through what an optimal day looks like for me. And I've arrived at 15,000 words being actually very achievable. It's a long day. It's a hard day. But it's something that I can keep up sort of indefinitely. It gives me enough time in between writing and editing and then the next day's work, it gives me enough time to actually rest. Because the issue with 20,000 words is that I didn't actually have time to rest. I would literally work until I went to bed, and then I would get up the next day and I would just get back to work. And you can keep that up for so long, but eventually you can't keep that up. And so 15,000 words a day seems much more doable. If I'm really on top of it, I can actually get it done by like 2 o'clock. And then an hour or so for editing means that by 3 o'clock, I'm done for the day, which is fantastic. That's a lot better than the like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock that I was often pulling to try to get my 20,000 words in. That's probably the biggest adjustment in terms of my writing goals between last year and this year. I want to do 15,000 words a day. And rather than just sort of saying, I'm going to try to do that as many times as I possibly can, instead, I'm making it a little bit more concrete. If I do 15,000 words a day, I can write a 120,000 word book in 7 days with a couple of days of like editing after the fact or plotting before the fact, right? Which means that in 2 weeks, I should reasonably, if I'm keeping to this schedule, I should reasonably be able to write a book, right? Monday through Friday for 2 weeks is 10 days, which means that gives me 3 days of play on, around that 7-day period where I can make adjustments as I need, right? And that means that I'm not working on weekends. And I think that's going to be important for me this year is to just make sure that I'm keeping a steady cadence instead of these like really intensive, bursts where I'm trying to do 20 to 25,000. There was a day last year where I think I did 36,000 words in one day. Not doing that again. Not doing that again. So with that in mind, 15,000 is where I've landed for the moment. And we'll see. Maybe by the end of this year, I'm going to be like, Seth, that was completely idiotic. We're going back down to 5. Who knows? But right now, I'm going to set it at 15. I do like to set aggressive goals. I think that it's better to set more aggressive goals and then make your adjustments, as opposed to less aggressive goals and then settling for those goals. So that's the biggest, I think, change in how I'm going to be thinking about my writing coming into 2025 here. I have 2 other writing goals, though. The first writing goal is to finish 3 different series. Now, that probably sounds a lot harder than it actually is. I have a series that I need to write 2 more books in. I have a series that I need to write 3 more books in. And then I have a couple other series that are sort of outstanding that I could write 4 or 5 books in and be done. And that sort of fits into then my third goal, which is to write 16 books. Now, some of you are probably saying, Seth, wasn't that your goal at the beginning of last year? In fact, wasn't your goal 15 books last year? Yeah, something like that. So why do I think that I'll be able to achieve 16 books this year when I couldn't even achieve 15 books last year? I mean, I only wrote 12 and a novella. Well, it's simple. So with this new cadence, if it takes me about 2 weeks to write a book and I do 1 book a month, then that will be 12. But that means that I have half of every month off, right? And so if I have half of every month off, that's essentially 6 months of the year to write an additional 4 books. And so that seems pretty doable to me, that I can write 1 book a month in the first 2 weeks, and then I can write part of a book in the remaining time for that month. And if I just keep that up and I keep up this regular cadence of getting on and streaming in the morning, writing my 10,000 words and then doing 5,000 words in the afternoon, I should be able to do it just fine, right? Again, I do like to set aggressive goals. I know this isn't an aggressive goal because lots of stuff is going to come up. But regardless, I'm going to try it. We're going to see if it works. So those are my writing goals. I want to do 15,000 words a day, Monday through Friday, when I'm not traveling, right? I want to finish 3 different series to get them off my plate, and I want to write 16 books over the course of the year. Now, that brings us to lifestyle goals, things that I'm going to be changing about my lifestyle in order to make sure that I can hit my writing goals. So the first thing is exercise. I have just stopped exercising. I have put on about 15 pounds more than I want to, and it is, it's bad. I'm feeling it both in my body, but also in my spirit, and I just need to get more exercise in. And so I'm adjusting my entire schedule so that I can exercise before I start work, as opposed to trying to exercise in the middle of the day. And one of the things that I found last year was that I would often not exercise because I was so just overwhelmed with the amount of work that I had to do that I didn't prioritize it. I would just give myself the excuse, I don't want to take the hour off. I'd rather do my work. I'm going to try to hit my 20,000 words. Bad idea. If I had kept exercising through the sort of second half of last year, I think that I would have found myself further ahead. I would have gotten more done. I would have had more energy. My brain wouldn't have been so sluggish. And the other thing that does for me is when I exercise, I also have the opportunity to listen to books and do some like personal development stuff. And that's really important to me. But I have been missing that piece simply because I've foregone my exercise in order to try to cram more words in, right? Bad situation. So I'm not going to be doing that anymore. Starting actually tomorrow morning. As of filming this, I'm going to be exercising. So anytime you get on the stream in the mornings, I want you to ask me, Seth, did you exercise this morning? Okay, keep me accountable, because that's my goal. Every single day that I stream, I also need to exercise. So ask me every day. I'd appreciate it. The second lifestyle change that I'm making is I'm going to be traveling a lot less. I took 10 trips last year. All of them I was gone for at least a week, if not more, and it was brutal. It was brutal on me and on my family, and it just really screwed with my work schedule. It messed with the output of my writing, like how productive I was. It really threw off my groove when it came to the stories. And there were a couple of times when I really struggled to get back into a story that I had to pause to go and travel because my brain was in such a completely different place when I got back. So with that in mind, I'm severely limiting the amount of trips that I'm going on. I have 2 trips that I cannot avoid, and so I will be going on those that I had already committed to and I couldn't back out of. But pretty much everything else, just not happening. That means, unfortunately, less opportunity to hang out with cool people, and unfortunately, less chance to travel, which is something I love doing. So maybe in 2026, I'll be back to traveling more, and I'll find myself a better balance. But with this year, I could sense what it was doing to me, both physically and emotionally. And I'm not going to do it. So I am taking a year and I'm going to curtail my activity and I'm going to focus on getting my work done, which is what I should have done last year, but failed to do. So the third, and in some ways probably most important lifestyle change is that I'm going to rebuild my flow triggers. I'm gonna put out a video on this actually because I think it's really important. I was talking to another author and through the course of the conversation was reminded of just how important this is for everybody, especially though for people who want to pursue a creative job, right? Any kind of job that has a lot of creativity involved, this is so important. So I'm going to rebuild my flow triggers. I'm going to refocus on getting myself into flow as fast as possible and building a life and an environment that can accommodate that. But I'm not going to do it the way I did it before, which was very sort of rigid and static. Instead, I'm going to try to take this to the next level, and I'm going to try my best to ensure that I can retain flexibility. Because if I ever want to start traveling again, I have to do it. One of the things that made last year so hard was that all of that travel disrupted my flow triggers. And it became really hard to get back into them. The other problem, though, and this didn't even occur to me last year, and it just sort of came to my awareness this year, at the very beginning of 2025, and that's that I moved at the end of 2023. And even though I moved, and even though I reset up my office and I set up all of that, I didn't rebuild any of my flow triggers. And so a lot of my flow triggers exist for a space that I'm no longer in on a daily basis. And it's no wonder that I have so much more trouble here than I did at my old office. It's no wonder. Anyway, I'm probably getting a little bit too cryptic. Like I said, I'm going to be releasing a whole video on flow triggers, what they are, how you can, as a creative, get into flow faster and start building mastery around what it is you want to create. And so hopefully that'll come in the next week or two. But that's pretty much it. So like I said, 3 writing goals: writing 15,000 words a day, every day that I stream, finishing 3 series before the end of the year, writing 16 books. Those are my writing goals. And then lifestyle goals: I want to exercise every day that I stream. I want to travel less aggressively. And I want to rebuild all of my flow triggers for my current life and my current environment. And if I can do those things, I think 2025 is going to come out to be a fantastic year. In fact, I'm almost positive. I have a really good feeling about this year. Not just for me, though, but for everybody. I think 2025 is going to be something of a turning point. And I think we're all going to benefit. So let me know down in the comments below, what are your goals for 2025? I'd love to cheer you on in them. I'd love to have this video sort of act as a place where we can put down our goals and we can come back at the end of the year and we can check how we're doing.